YouTube, there is no firearms in this video.
Welcome back to the Low-Key Gunner YouTube channel. In this episode, we will be reviewing the Umarex Glock 17 Gen 5. This one is the Half-Blowback .177 caliber steel BB version. This has been sent to us by Airgun Source Canada for a review, so that's what we're doing. So it did come in a pretty cool box. It is nice to be able to store them away if you don't have a space to store them. So you get the pistol and some tools. This tool is to tighten the CO₂, and this Allen key seems to be to install the MOS plates, which are not included. You also get the instruction manual and a few other pamphlets and safety instructions. This pistol has a polymer frame with a metal slide and a metal magazine for the most part. So I think that's pretty true to the real thing. As you can notice by the slide locking open, this is an half-blowback model, which means that the slide will rock back as you shoot, but not as much as a full blowback model. It will shoot faster though, more velocity, because it is not wasting as much gas to cycle the slide. So there is a lot of positive points to half-blowback in my opinion. It comes with one drop-free magazine, which holds your CO₂ cartridge. You got the tool right there to tighten it. You need to slide that this way, I believe, to be able to do that. So that's pretty nice. The mag itself is pretty nice. This is how the feeding system works. Basically, the trigger pull is doing that. I don't know if you can see that, but this is cycling that. So don't pull the trigger too slow or you will cause double feeding sometimes, but if you pull it fairly fast, it will work very good. To load the magazine, you will lock this at the bottom there. It will stay there in this notch, but usually you load them somewhere around here. This one, you will need to load it by the top, which can be a bit finicky. You need to kind of put them one by one. It is easier with a speed loader, which is not included, but I did use one and it goes very well. So just showing you now. It does mention .177 caliber on there, and it holds 18 BBs, if we did not say that already. They claim around 370 FPS with or without an optic if you use the MOS plates. I do not have those, so I did not test that, but it did around 370, 375 FPS. The first mag did not seem to be the most consistent for some reason, but that might be because of my way of pulling the trigger during the test. I don't know. Watch this video if you want to find out. Also, quick note, to be fair, the chronograph video was the second use of this pistol. I had not oiled it other than putting a drop on the CO₂ cartridge, so that might also not help, but it did go up to the claim and was pretty consistent after the first magazine. So that's all the info I got for you. But yeah, I do recommend that you oil it before maybe the first time. Maybe a bit of oil right there, maybe along the slide, somewhere around the trigger, you know. So at around 370 FPS, you get around 4 magazine, aka 72 shots. You can shoot a bit more than that, but it is getting pretty weak after that, so that's not really recommended. That's really not too bad for a blowback pistol. The half-blowback system is really giving us a little bit of feeling and keeping it fast enough to be accurate, in my opinion. I don't really know. I did not try that many air pistols, but I really like this one. Quick reminder, the MOS Type 1 plates are not included, but you can add an optic on top of there, and they do give you the Allen key to undo that and the tool to tighten the CO₂ cartridge in the box. One thing that I don't really care about, but that might make some of you guys sad, is that this model does not seem to be field strippable. This is pretty much welded to the frame. There is no hole, there is no spring. This does not go down. You most likely can take it apart with the pins, but it is not field strippable like some of them, most likely full blowback models. I'm not sure. This could be annoying if you get a BB stuck in there, which did happen to me on the very last bit of my shooting after filming the last short video. Because I was pulling the trigger too slowly, I quit pulling it and then I pulled again, so it double feeded because of me. And I only had to slide the slide backwards like that and remove the magazine and made sure that the BB did fall out, and it was fine, but it did get in between the slide a little bit. It was not looking that good, but it was easy to remove this time. So be careful about the trigger and you should not have any of those issues anyway. A pistol like that is perfect for 5 to maybe 15 meter plinking. I was hitting stuff at 10 meter without a problem, which is pretty impressive to me with a BB gun that has a blowback, and I'm not that good at shooting pistols. So take that for what it is. Watch the other videos if you want more info, you know. We did test a bunch of different BBs in it with this Faiachi laser sight, just so I can see in the basement, and it was really not pellet picky, and I was pretty impressed by the results for a BB gun. That's pretty accurate to me. In fact, I believe I got some accessories to make this video more video-y. I don't want to make this part of the video too long, but as you can see on those 1-inch splatterburst targets, it shot pretty much all of the BBs pretty well, and yeah, that's impressive to me. With a BB gun, I got some pellet pistols that will not do much better than that, so pretty good. It is not the most powerful pistol. It was not cracking this can from 5 meter. It was doing similar dents from 10 meter, but it did crack this one pretty good, even with the water or no water. And you know, it will pierce a can, but not always. So if that's a criteria for you, maybe don't get a blowback pistol, because that's pretty good. This unit is pretty quiet for a pistol. I assume that the blowback is for something. Usually shorter barrels and CO2 means a bit of noise, but this one really is not too bad. It is pretty backyard friendly. The open sights are non-adjustable, but this one was hitting only a bit high, which is about the best case scenario. It is easier to Kentucky windage down than up, and from further distance it will most likely hit right down. So maybe from 15 meter it will be right on target, a little bit high at 10 meter, 5 meters, so that's pretty good to me. It also has some pretty nice silver accents on there, so you can see. I like it. By the way, both the mag and slide release are on this side, but you do have a fake slide release and mag button thingy on this side notch. I don't really know if the real pistol has that, but just so you know. Empty with no CO2 or BBs, it weighs 1.53 pounds, so it does have some weight to it and a good feel. The pistol length is about 7.5 inch and the barrel is about 4 inches. Of course, the barrel is non-rifled because this is a BB version. I assume that the pellet versions does have a rifled barrel, most likely. Now for the trigger, it does have a fairly long travel. Maybe we can see why if we do that. Basically, it has to feed the BB, and usually that's about where the trigger would go off after that. That's why you have to pull it fairly quickly when you get there. I will remove the magazine to make sure not to smack my valve in there. But yeah, it has a pretty long travel. Then it gets to click. It did record at around 7 pounds, which is surprising me because it did not feel like it. It is pretty nice to shoot. It is not a match grade trigger by any means, but it is enjoyable. I don't think I've said that clearly yet, but you do have one Picatinny notch under there to use a laser or a light, something like that. You also have the safety down there, which is a bit hard to remove if you don't have nails, but is very nice to have if you have kids around and don't want things to happen. So it does lock the trigger pretty well. And you also have this trigger safety, which I never really tried because you're simply pulling on it while pulling the trigger. But if you don't pull in the middle of the trigger, it will not work. That's about it, I think. This pistol is covered by 90-day limited warranty from Umarex, if you care to know. But I did not get any issues except at the beginning, the very first use. It did not seem to want to fire, but the oil got in there and it worked flawlessly since, so I will not count that as an issue. Enough rambling, now let's talk about what I did like about this pistol. Basically, it is very realistic. It looks like the real deal, which is not something that the RCMP is really fan of, and I hope we don't lose them in Canada anytime soon, but that's a positive. Another cool thing about it is the half-blowback feature, which does give you some feedback in the wrist, but also keeps some velocity to actually hit the target, so that's a good in-between to me. Also, you get around 4 mags / 72 shots, which I believe is more than most full blowback models, so you also keep some CO₂ / shot count to have more fun. The MOS Type 1 plates are not included, but you do have the possibility to add an optic to it, so that's kind of cool. Another good thing is that I was surprised to be able to hit stuff this easily at 10 meter with this pistol, so the accuracy is great for a BB gun to me. Watch the videos if you want to tell a comment. I like comments, likes, engagement, motivation. All around, I believe this is the best BB pistol that I've tried yet. I've not tried a lot of them. I only got some cheap Crossmans right there, and I've tried Scavenger's Nick KWC 24/7, which was pretty nice, but hitting very low, a lot of blowback, not a lot of shots. So I prefer this one, to be honest. Now for the part that sellers don't want to hear about, the negatives. But I'm not a seller, so I can talk about it. Just don't listen if you're a seller, I guess, and you don't want to hear about it. So the safety is a bit hard to use without nails. That's the first negative point. In fact, let's put it back on right now. Another negative will be that the trigger pull is pretty long and it has to be pulled pretty fast near the end if you don't want to let the BB roll down the barrel, basically. But this seemed to happen also with my cheapos, so I don't think that we really can blame the feeding system on that one, because most seem to do it. One other negative point will be that the magazine loads by the top instead of an easy notch to slide the BBs in. But when you do use a speed loader, this makes it easier and it is not that bad, so nothing horrible there. If I can get that unstuck, thank you. Also, it did not seem to be the most consistent on the first magazine. In my velocity test, it got better afterwards and got pretty reasonable, but I don't know if that was influenced by me, so take that for what it is. I was pulling the trigger differently, slower on the first magazine, and I don't know. And the last negative, which is not a huge deal to me, but could be to some of you guys, is that it does not seem to be field strippable. This does not move, this does nothing, so yeah. This was a very fun little plinker. It is pretty much my favorite BB pistol yet. I will recommend you trying the Half-Blowback versions if you do like blowback but also do want to keep some power. I was pretty impressed by the accuracy and power shot count. Anyways, I liked it basically, and I'm not a huge pistol shooter, so that says a lot. It is very nice looking while not being the most expensive replica that you can get out there, and it is not limited to around 300 FPS because of the full blowback, so to me, that's a win. I don't know for you, but thanks for watching until the end. Thanks to Airgun Source Canada for this review opportunity, and I will see y'all in the next one.